Hey, everybody. So, this episode's going to be a little different. And it's going to be where the rant part of retrospective rants really comes into play. And I apologize for this. This is not really performative or anything. It's just from the heart. This is me literally ranting for the sake of my own debatable peace of mind. So, today, this is the 26th. Today is the anniversary. Of my Ninong's death. It's also his birthday. For those of you who don't know, Ninong is the Filipino term for godfather. It wasn't just my godfather, though. He was also my uncle by blood and a lot of other things. He was my best friend for most of my life. He showed me anime, sci-fi, Shakespeare, Dungeons and Dragons, TTRPGs of all kinds, many different movies too, some of which I was probably, not even probably, but very much too young to watch. Same with the anime. I think I mentioned that in an earlier episode. So, those of you who are skilled enough or just have any kind of smarts will probably realize that this episode is off script. I don't have a script for this because I could not find, or rather plan, the words ahead of time. Again, this is the rant part of retrospective rants. And this is important because ranting, both me ranting at him and Ninong ranting at me, was a key part of our relationship. I remember he was one of those people who would get very defensive about certain things, but I don't know if he did this for everybody, but he would congratulate me, depending on how well I did in the debate, if I won or didn't. I remember that we'd talk about comic book characters, and of course, the discussion would sometimes or almost always go into who would beat this comic book character, who would kill this comic book character. And I remember over and over again he'd present me with this very immensely powerful character that is so powerful that they've only appeared in one or two comics or storylines because the too powerful to beat. I think one was Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. And of course, those of you who know who that character is know that he is very close to unkillable, if not just unkillable, just unkillable. And I came up with solution after solution, and over again I was proven wrong or slapped aside. Some of them were very close attempts I picked up from everywhere. Mythology, other comics, anime, everything. And finally I said, okay, the Q Continuum from Star Trek versus Dr. Manhattan. And that gave him pause, and he says, you know what? Well done. Very good. Yeah, this is kind of just going to be me telling random stories in honor of my Ninong, because, again, he introduced so much to me. I of course, got other experiences. My dad and mom were, again, old school nerds. And they showed me all the stuff. They also probably showed me, Lord of the Rings, the original movies. Probably, again, far when I was far younger than I should have been, maybe. But and yeah, oh, I forgot. Video games. Video games was a big thing for me and Ninong. I remember that me, and Dad would sometimes play together. And this was before internet or in online gaming was a big thing. This was like in the early 2000s. And you just have this room with local area connected computers, 3 monitors, 3 computers, and we'd play things like Civ 2 and other stuff, and it was really interesting. I think there was a time when we would play MMOs together also. Not Dad wasn't there, but me and Ninong would. Oh, goodness. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention his brilliance, and I do mean the word brilliance sincerely. There are very few people who were smarter than my Ninong. Correction. There are very few people who were as intelligent as my Ninong. Like many brilliant people, he knew several things. He knew several things. History, literature, art, and of course, tech. He was a brilliant technician, the type who would just go out and buy computer parts and make his own computer. He was one of those people who treated, tech or computers almost as living creatures. Not people, but the same way you'd take care of plants or animals and such. Which, after he explained it to me for a while, it made total sense. From a nerdy point of view. You're gonna hear me burping. I'm not drunk. I'm just drinking Diet Pepsi. Oh, poor Ninong. Yeah, so I said brilliant. He was brilliant, and he knew many things, but he was also plagued with many problems. I'm not going to get too personal. I don't think this is the appropriate venue. I know that many people who knew Ninong may be listening to this, but whatever. But again, like many talented people, there was a great deal of arrogance and vitriol at times. And sometimes that just manifested in the debates I mentioned, and other times it was very, very passionate and irate defenses against, not driving, not helping with certain things. And, it was not this was not what happened all the time, but it would happen. And like me, he was autistic, or at least very lightly, very likely autistic. I'm a trained vocalist and actor, can't you tell? And again, he was very likely autistic, and so many social things and emotional things were difficult for him, even as intelligent and wise as he could be. Oh, goodness. Ninong. Yeah. He was also, strangely enough, a very competent athlete, or rather he was and could be a very competent athlete. He was, when I knew him and when he passed, he was not very physically healthy, which, he passed away, so maybe that should be obvious. I make a joke about that, but it's the gallows humor type of thing. What is it? What is... Where was I? I'm sorry, I keep passing in and out of this. Again, off script and very, very emotional subject. Yes, he was not very healthy at the time, but he was still incredibly skilled with his hands. He could assemble and fix things, and he was able to... He was still very adept at swordplay, and I mean like actual training. He would train in kendo and fencing, for instance, and he was very good still, even when he had declined in later years. He was still very good. You know, oh my gosh. Most of the swords that I have in my collection are inherited from him. I need to find it. He had a steel batleth. You know, like the actual batleth, the weapons that the Klingons use. And he had it, and he had it somewhere. I don't think it's gone. I need to find that. I'm gonna take a picture. Ah, there's my Ninong. I remember, and I did mean he was my best friend. Before I was diagnosed with all of my various mental BS, I had no medication and no one to say, oh, he's acting like such and such due to neurological whatever. And so, partly through, my own undiagnosed problems, partly through, my own personal faults. One, I didn't know what was going on with me inside my head, and so I would overreact sometimes. May have not been my fault, but I still did it. And also due to which none of that was helped by the more than occasional crappy behavior of other people. Oh wow, that's rather personal. With all of that middle school and high school dramatic nonsense, one of my best friends was Ninong. I wasn't always able to hang out with friends or go to people's houses, mostly because the school was like a half an hour away from the house, and that was everybody. We're all scattered to the different winds, different directions away with the school, so, we couldn't just go everywhere, wherever. So I would be able to go over to my Ninong's house and just chill. We'd talk, we'd play video games, we'd discuss writing, we'd watch movies and anime. Goodness, anime. Lots of different anime. Mostly violent anime, because as it was action anime, and Ninong, again, due to all the intelligence undiagnosed issues and all the personal stuff that I promised not to get into, but I'm probably going to slip into anyway because I'm dumb. But anyway, he liked, or rather favored, I don't know if he liked it, but he would often watch the darker or depressing stuff. Which, it's anime. There's even in the happy or lighter stories, there's always some depressing or dark stuff in the anime, but he really liked the heavier stuff. Even though at heart, and some people may or may not be surprised by this if you knew him, he was very much a romantic. He liked love stories and happy endings. He may have dismissed them from time to time, but those were his happy stories. He preferred, like, a bittersweet ending. That was his thing, but he liked... And I'm not just talking about, the sexually charged whatever. He wasn't... That wasn't his thing. He liked true love stories. Which was interesting, really. He passed while he was single, so I wonder if I don't know if that was a consistent issue on his mind. He wanted that kind of, what was it, that kind of connection. I mean, I don't think that's a strange thing to want, is it? Ah, boy. Okay, so sort of personal, not really, not horrible. So I discussed how for a long time he was my best friend and one of my only friends, or rather, one of my only friends who I could see consistently. I had a bunch of other friends who went to other places, but they weren't at my school, and I could only meet them every so often, so they weren't there constantly, or as constantly as I might need. So so I'd go to him often, and unfortunately, I think well, not unfortunately, but he relied on me in the same way. I was his best friend, and again, probably his most consistent friend. So when I left to college and I wasn't able to visit him as much, well, he was very saddened by that. Again, not too strange, I suppose. We all miss friends and family, loved ones who we get close to, but I'd never heard my Ninong beg before. Again, he was very intelligent and very capable, even in his depressed state, but as close as he could get to begging someone without actually saying, I beg this of you, he asked me to come over a lot, and not school, college, and that's demanding, but also, oh God forgive me for saying this. I had it in my head that me being at college was a chance for me to grow. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother all too personal can of BS to discuss, but I thought it was a chance to grow, and at that point, I'd made friends who were no longer my friends, but then I guess I would have been. I'd made new friends there and new vocations, and I was really involved in the drama program there, and I wanted to commit to that, so I didn't respond as or go over as often as I might have been able to, and maybe that was a good thing in some cases. He wasn't living a healthy life, either physically or mentally, perhaps. Oh, God. So you might know where this is going. I have often wondered or blamed myself in some ways for his passing. I know it's irrational, but I have. Because, when he passed, it was due to basically a lack of self-care, both mentally and physically, and I think that kind of happened because I wasn't there to be there for him anymore, and I've always thought that. Still do, and it's been a few years now. It's childish and dumb, I know, but I think maybe that's how grief works. That's what I'm told constantly. I just... Again, I don't know. It comes and goes. You can spend like years not thinking about this. Maybe once or twice thinking, oh, it would be so cool if they're here to watch this thing. Or, oh, if my friends were still here, they would be right on this. They'd be telling me about whatever event is happening right now. And that's as far as it goes. And then, it, then you can write something. You can write something totally unrelated to whatever depressing thought, and then you read it out loud, and you are listening to some kind of music, and you think, oh my god, I wish I could show it to my Ninong. Oh boy. And you think of all the things you've did and things you've made that other people who you love and respect, new friends, new loved ones you've made who you're so happy to share these experiences with, and to have them say, oh wow, this is really cool, and then you revert back to being like a 10-year-old who's just made some stupid drawing or written his latest, greatest 13-page short story that, is in reality utter crap, but you're just so excited and you think it's so cool, and you're like, I need to show this to my friend. I need to show this to Ninong. He's gonna think it's so cool. But, but my Ninong's dead, and he's been dead for a while, and I still kind of blame myself for stupid, dumb reasons. Oof. What was the point of this video, of this recording again? Oh yes, it was a memorial rant. Because for all the depressed and negative feelings or whatever, I am only sad because I loved him so much. And I loved him so much only because he gave me so much. And yeah, not gonna sugarcoat it, there are some times where he was very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. People will be frustrating. That's just the thing of life. And to be honest, I think I would prefer he and I yelling at each other over stupid anime crap over half of the things I just gloss over while streaming the Twitter content feed whenever I have to look through it. Yeah, him screaming at me is probably preferable to to like 70% of whatever I read on social media and whatever. No offense to the social media people who I do follow. You guys are great, but you know what I'm talking about. Oh god. You know what? This has been going on pretty long, and it's just me ranting anyway. But I want to end it with a good story about my Ninong. There's many different things. Many good ones. Let me think. Come on, video game. 1, 2, 3. Ah! So I talked about TTRPGs, tabletop RPGs. Now, he, of course, got me into it, first of all. He was the one who got me into it. And I guess this is 2 stories in one, technically. So I was asking about it, and he was asking about it too, because he loved Dungeons and Dragons and various other systems. He even created his own tabletop system at one point. I haven't found his books or whatever. But, Mom and Dad didn't want me to get into it yet. They thought I was too young, and, they knew me. They thought, probably correctly, that if I made my own character, I'd get too attached to it, and if the character died, I'd be really upset. So, that's a legitimate concern for a kid who's at that point was diagnosed as autistic and whatever. But he decided to test me anyway. We were all in the car together. And so he presented me with the simple scenario: Wild West, riding into a long deserted town, and bad guys shoot at me from the rooftops. And I'm asking about the environment, trying to be smart. But while I'm asking all about these questions and such, normal, quote unquote, normal things that a pro gamer might try, or that a gamer might try, he tells me to roll for dodge or defense, or call out a number, and I do, and one of the bad guys hits me. So, my first RPG experience was an active time battle. So I wasn't allowed to just wait my turn for my action. He'd keep me on a timer. And he did this once again every so often. So I was kept on a timer, and if I took too long with my turn, then something else would happen. Which most of my other gamer friends tell me is quite brutal, but that was at least kind of fun. But it branched in because there are a few times where I would actually chair the game. I would be the game master for him and some of my cousins. And I'll never forget, we did 2 games, and he just said to me after one of the games that was really fun. You did really good. You need to play with my friends. They'd love you. And I don't know, it just felt like such a big step up for me, I guess. I don't know. This is a dumb thing, but it felt like a master saying, "You are welcome to join the ranks now." You're on this council, and we grant you the rank of master. Oh, gosh. But there's other stories, but again, I think this has gone on long enough, and I guess I left off with a good story, and I'll leave off with one message to my Ninong. Okay, I'm tearing up a little. Give me a second. I love you, I miss you, Ninong, and there's so much that's happened and so much that I've seen and experienced that I desperately wish you could have been around so that I could share it with you. And then we'd debate over it. You'd point out some minor flaw, and I'd argue, and you'd argue, and then I'd concede, or you'd concede, and everything. And then we'd watch new movies, and you'd probably try to defend the bad ones, because that's something you'd do. You would defend horrible movies until we argued tooth and nail, and then you'd be like, yeah, okay. And most of all, I miss going to the movies with you. I miss going to random movies with you and then stopping by off later for dinner or to get random gaming things. You were my best friend for so many years of my life. Technically still most of my life, and then you were gone. I found many good people, many good friends who there's no exaggerating it, I love them very dearly. And even though we have such good times together, I have such good times together with them. In the back of my mind, and today at the front of my mind, I can't help but think, I wish they had met you, and I wish you had met them. What a wonderful time we would have had. Oh, good Lord. Alright, so That's all, folks. For those of you who have listened all the way to the end, thank you for putting up with my... Is it a rant? I think it's a rambling. Albeit hopefully a well-intentioned rambling. But thank you for listening, and you all have a good one, and if you're inclined to it, I hope you can pray for my Ninong and maybe for me, so that I can find something better to drink than Diet Pepsi. Hopefully a little healthier. And if not, then I would certainly appreciate your well wishes and such. So, you all have a good day or morning or night wherever you are, and take care. Goodbye.